guys, what is good? Thank you so much for once again stopping back by. I really do hope that you're going to enjoy today's video so that you can keep coming back for more. So today we are doing a sit down video, as you guys can see, and I will be talking about living on your own in your 20s. If that is something you're interested to hear about my findings, about what has worked for me, and generally just how I feel about it, do keep watching this video. Don't forget to like, to comment, and subscribe, and let's get into it. I started living on my own in 2018. Well, not technically on my own, but like on my own, as in like I didn't have my family or any relative close to me. So in the context of I was living at rest. I did have a roommate. In first year, I had 2 roommates, so it was 3 of us in the room and we were sharing. So I was living on my own because I was responsible for me. And then 2019 happened and I still lived with someone. I had a roommate. 2020, I had a roommate. And then 2021, I was like, you know what? I cannot do this whole roommates thing. At the beginning of the year, I didn't have a roommate at the beginning of the year. Mind you, this is my schooling period, my varsity schooling period. And then 2021 happened and I was like, 1, I'm working now. 2, I'm doing my 4th year. 3, I have been listening to you guys and had a roommate for freaking 3 years. It's not happening now. Back to this video and the benefits of living on your own. So I was just still giving you guys a background of how long I've left home. So basically this is my 4th year of not living at home full-time. Do I ever think I'm ever gonna live at home again? Hell no. I cannot stomach the fact of being at home even if for 2 weeks. Like, yo, even for 1 week, and I'm like, yeah, no, like I cannot. I find it too crowded. Mind you, it's just a family of 4. It's my mom, my dad, my 2 brothers, and then me, so it's 5 of us. But I have my own room. My home is very comfortable. My home is not filled with like kids and stuff, but the atmosphere is just so full. Like, I'm so used to being in my own headspace, being on my own, doing what I want when I want, that I just find it so overwhelming. I did write the benefits down because I do have a few things that I want to touch on and I felt like I was going to forget. So the first thing that is a pro when you are living on your own that I found in my experience of living on my own, but I can say that I'm really living on my own now. I'm really experiencing literally living on my own now to its fullest capacity because I don't share with anyone now. So the first thing is that you learn responsibility. Like, you learn what to say yes to and what to say no to. You learn to differentiate between what you want and what you need. Because when you live on your own, everything is on you. It's not a thing of, oh no, if I don't do this, let's just make an example. I don't even want to get to finances yet because that's a segment on its own. Let's just get to basic examples like when you're at home, you know that if my brother's gonna do it, mom is gonna do it, you know, things like that. You know that if I'm lazy to think, I'm just gonna ask my mom, girl, you know, if I don't feel like cooking, I'm just not gonna cook and mom is gonna cook, or whatever is gonna happen, dad is gonna order takeaways. You always have a choice of being responsible when you live at home. To a certain extent, you have a choice. Do I want to do this? Do I not want to do this? When you live on your own, it becomes a thing of, okay, if I don't cook and I don't have money to have takeouts, basically I'm gonna starve. No, it's things like that because you really understand decision making. You really become the boss of your life. You really, even on the little matters, if things like deciding, do I want to go to this place or do I not want to go to this place, from a perspective of a child who grew up in a very strict home where we are happy, you know, I always had to explain where I'm going. I always had to tell my parents in advance to oh no, 2 weeks time if you go movie, that's what my life was. Now that I live on my own, you learn what do you as a person say yes to and say no to. Now I don't have to ask anyone. If I want to go and not come back from the movie, I go and not come back from the movie. So you really learn how to take responsibility and charge of your own life with big decisions and even with smaller decisions. Okay guys, so if you guys do see a difference in lighting, that is because I had an emergency that I had to attend to. So this is like an hour later from the first clip. Let me gloss up my lips so we continue with the video. Second thing that you develop or you learn with living on your own is so important, which is your respect for money. For me, living on my own did two things. I enjoyed the freedom of spending on what I want and not having to report to anyone or not having to ask anyone, not having to, me wanting something, it didn't have to rely on somebody going to the mall and then I tag along, or me asking to go to the mall. It solely relied on what I wanted to get, when I wanted to get it, and the means of me getting it. Because previously, when I wanted to get something, it would have to be in line with, okay, my mom is going to the mall. It would have to be in line with that time where my parents allowed me to go out. It wasn't a thing of, if I want something, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and get it, you know. So I've enjoyed the freedom of spending money, the freedom of spending my own money. But it also teaches you respect for money in the form of, you understand that if I have this amount of money, I need to be because it has to sustain me for a certain period of time. Now obviously people are different, homes are different. I'm going to speak on this from a student's perspective, then I'm going to speak about this on a perspective of someone who started making their own money, because I've been on both, and on both ends I've lived. It was during the time in my life where I wasn't living at home. So on the student end, I've always known that I'm getting this much income from my parents, I'm getting this much income from my bursary. I've always known, Wuti, I have this amount of money that is coming in, right? And for me, I don't come from a family where I can just pick up the phone any time of the month and be like, Wuti pelile, plan. You know, I've always been towards some sort of responsibility from home, and it's not a wealthy family, so it was a thing of, you better do that. I've never had the leisure of saying, I'm going to do something else and then if I ever did that, it was because I plan is overlap during the month or whatever the case is. So from that aspect, I always knew I'm going to have maybe 3K a month. And in this 3K, I need to do groceries, I need to get cosmetics, and the rest probably I need to save a bit, I need to have entertainment, you know. That has always been my perspective. Now when you are working, it's even harder when you're working, because when you are working, it comes with responsibilities. You want to acquire things as you grow, and certain things need you to save up for them in order for you to acquire them. When you start working and making your own money, you look at money at a different light. You look at things at a different light. Even your spending habits are a bit different. There's a lot that you sacrifice so that you can have more a year from now, 2 years from now. So, and with this, living on your own comes a lot into play. You really understand and respect money when you live alone, because you understand if you go to pela, it's on me. You also understand the pace of how you use things and the way you use things, because you understand, you know. So it just teaches you a lot of respect for the things you own. It teaches you a lot of respect for the things that you've acquired. Living on your own means obviously you're buying stuff for yourself. Into oyijulukele ave uyiphatha kahle. So it's not only even respect for money, it's even respect for your valuables and your assets. Noma ngathi asset incane kangakanani, but if you sweated for it and you bought it with your own money, trust me. Whereas at home, it's bought by your parents, it's very easy to vandalize, you know, because awubazi ubunzima of acquiring it. So I really think living on my own definitely taught me respect for money. It also taught me how to save, you know. It also taught me ukuthi akwazi ukuthi mangifuna into ukuthi ngingakwazi ukuyenza. You always have to have money that you fall back on. You know, you always need to have akwazi bekuhlele kube 0-0. Whereas when I was at home, noma ngathi, this is before I started working. I'm not talking about now where it's like, okay, I have a bit of an income nyana coming in. This is before I started working. This was when I was still a full-time student and I'm getting the small income from home. It was always a thing of, because ngihlala ngedwa, I understand that I can't go back home. I need to have money. So yeah, it really, staying on your own also forces you to learn how to prioritize. being a girl like me, who's a lover of life, who's a lover of things, who is a lover of looking good, going out, taking snaps, you know, living, that's my hobby. That's where I find calmness, where if I went out, you know, sometimes I go out just to think. Sometimes it's not even about uba muhle. And by uba muhle, I mean doing your makeup and whatnot. Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and I just need a different scenery. I need to breathe in different air. I need to have new thoughts, new fresh ideas. And I will go out and sit at a restaurant by myself and put a cough, maybe have a slice of cake and just think, you know, get my head around things, jot a few things down. So ukuhlala alone has made me learn how I deal with things, how I cope, how I like things to be done, what works for me and what doesn't work for me. Something that I wouldn't have done when I was at home. So I've learned to prioritize. I like going out and and just think, you know. So I always need to have money for that. Priorities are when you live alone. They start to get to being prioritized according to you and your own lifestyle that you've gotten yourself used to, that you've taught yourself. Your priorities obviously change from important to least important, because we ask at the end of the day you need to pay rent. At the end of the day you need to buy groceries. At the end of the day so the shopping for clothing unexpectedly is now more crafted. It's now more prioritized. It's okay, this month I want to buy this, I want to buy that. It's not just from the top of your head. You know, you've learned more than learning to prioritize. You also get to understand your finances much better than you would have when you live at home, because when you live alone, you have total control of what you are able to sustain and not sustain at a certain amount of time or period. This one is probably my favorite one out of all my discoveries. You really learn your own self. You really find yourself when you live alone. You really find who you are when you've stripped down your family, stripped down your friends, stripped down even the person that you're dating. You really sit down and say, who is Asiphe when she's happy? Happy on her. You really develop a sense of self. Who are you behind closed doors? What do you enjoy doing behind closed doors? What motivates you when you're the only thing in the atmosphere, when all you got is you? When all you got is yourself. A lot of these things, it's harder to discover if you're in a house full of noise, if you're in a house full of voices, if you're in a house where 80% of the time you're accompanied by someone. Yes, I grew up having my own room and stuff, but you don't really experience aloneness until you're all you faced with, until when you look at the left, the right, when everything's just you. You know, you really get to know what drives you. You really get to know what your routines are like. When you wake up in the morning, you no longer eat iqanda ngoba la ekhaya kwenziwa iqanda ekseni. You know, you wake up and you decide, what do I want to eat today? What makes me feel good in the morning? What makes me start off my day positively? What gets me on the high? So your praying times change. I know with me, it no longer... Actually, it's a very interesting thing when it comes to prayer and spirituality, because when I was at home, it was a normal thing. Uti, I need to pray in the morning and we're going to pray together in the evening. And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't, but in most cases we will pray together in the evening. Mom is going to call the entire family, we pray. When I was living at Rest, I found out Uti, I couldn't pray when I wanted to, or to the extent and the capacity I wanted to, because there was always a rumza. You know, now that I'm alone, it's really when I am really getting to understand my spirituality and my praying times, and when I feel like praying. And that's the only, because this time and this area in my life is the time where I am really experiencing living alone. So it's really interesting how for me praying no longer has a routine. It's no longer something if I've done in the morning, it's something that it's so spontaneous. It is so spontaneous. It is the way I now express certain things through prayer are different, because I'm really immersed in being alone and not being heard by anyone, and it's just me and my God. It is so important to know yourself. You know, growing up also comes with a lot of meeting different people, with inviting certain energies and people in your life. It is much easier to get through this if you know yourself, if you have a full understanding of yourself. Even the things and people you attract are going to be very in line with self if you know self. But if you don't know self, you go around attracting everything and everyone. You go around testing the waters because you don't know self. Whereas if you know self, you are able to tell from a very far that that's not going to work for me, that's not for me, not this, you know, because you are so much aware of the things you like, the things you don't like, the things that you tolerate, the things that you don't tolerate, the things you need, the things that you don't need, the things that you are willing to sacrifice for, and the things that you're not willing to sacrifice, you know. But it all takes, Uti, you need to spend time with self so that you can know yourself. So for me, that has been my definite biggest achievement, and I really feel like one of the ways to really get to know yourself is to spend time alone. Really get to understand what goes up in here when you're alone and not influenced by anyone else. And I think once you understand yourself, there's literally almost nothing that you can't get through in life. Anything that life throws at you, you are able to pull out the appropriate weapon because you know self. You even know the weapons that you have in your bag. So you know, this situation for me, it dinga this weapon. This situation for me, I need to attack it like this. This situation for me, I need to confront it like this, because I know self and I know self's capabilities, strengths and weakness. But it really takes time for you to be alone before you understand self. Also, when it comes to inviting other people and relationships are much more easier when you understand yourself. They're a lot more complicated if you're trying to be with someone but you haven't been with yourself. Like, you don't even understand yourself yet, because often, especially us girls, often even men too, it's just that, you know, we admit it, they don't. Us humans, we love being understood. We enjoy having somebody else understand us, whereas you don't even understand yourself. You know, number two, it's not anyone's duty to understand anyone, right? But I think it's a human thing that we want to be understood so much. And before you can understand somebody else, or even want to be understood by somebody else, you have to understand yourself so that you don't contradict. You don't contradict what you want and what you're putting out. So your wants don't contribute to your actions, you know, because when you understand yourself, everything needs to be in sync. You can't be wanting certain things from other people, but your actions are not in line with what you want. I don't know if it makes sense, but in my head it does. The last one, guys, before I close off this video, kumnandi guys, ukuba in control in every single aspect of your life. Mangabe ngithanda wena yokuthi angiyi, mangabe ngithanga ngifuni, mangabe that day umnyango wami ngifuna ukuvala solonke, it's really amazing. It's really nice. It can get a bit overwhelming, especially when you're not in a good space, because then you have nobody to turn to, you have nobody to distract you. But it's part of the journey, right? It's part of growing up into the person you want to be. It can get lonely, especially if you're not okay, but it is also essential to be able to deal with yourself. Learn how to deal with yourself if you're not okay. Learn how to deal with yourself if you're feeling lonely. You have to know every part of yourself. You know, and you can't experience them if there's always people around you. Points where in my life I get my aunts, people in my family, Tiba, hey, Asiphe, what's my man who sends a good? They're referring to my younger siblings or my younger cousins or whatever. What's my man who sends a good? I'll call him and I. So I'm at that age where, you know, if when you live on your own, even people around you start taking you seriously. If you're living on your own and you prove it to be working, and you prove ukuthi umbona kanjalo umuntu usekhulile. Mina I always say ukuthi once you are able to responsibly live your life, mistakes happen along the way, but mayingabi khona into or iphutha engiyohlezi ngikukhombela lona ukuthi lapha wawa. You know, generally when you're living on your own, or when you just, you know, finding life and growing up, there are mistakes that you do. But for me, for as long as I'm not able to pinpoint and say konje wawa lapha, konje, then you know you're doing well. Then you know you're taking on the responsibility well. So, I always say when these things happen in life, when I talk to my younger siblings and stuff, amaphutha akho asingawaboni, asiwazi ngoba wena ufuna siwazi ukuthi hayibo ngake ngaba nje ngake ngaqhubeka lapha but musukushiya amaphutha sizohamba siwakhomba uthi noma wena usudlulile kuona but kubalula nje ukuthi hayibo njalo wena ungakhohlwa hayibo wena washiya lapha, you know. So and I always encourage, if anything, for me, I really do encourage spreading out your wings and leaving. If it was up to me, I wouldn't even be in Durban. I do intend on leaving next year, but my family is in Durban. I really just want to spread my wings even further, you know. And I really do, I'm an advocate for once kids enter varsity, they must go away from home, guys. They must go live their lives. Umuntu akabhede awenza ama mistake kodwa basembona ukuthi ukhulile by the way they live their own life. Let your own life testify for you. You know what? And I'm saying zenza a certain way that works for me, whatever way that may be. People are different. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really do hope that you found it interesting, or like you could relate to it to some extent at some points. If you enjoyed this video, please give this video a massive thick thumbs up. Don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe. To my new subscribers, oh my word, 3K, what it do? How can I forget? Thank you so much. Welcome to the family. Kumnandi like higher. Sihlezi si happy like higher. Nje nawe nje usazobona ukuthi like higher. It's a vibe. It's a positive energy. It's a vibe all the time, baby, and that's what's on period. I really do want to do a lot more sit-down videos. I really am looking into doing girl talks more. If you'd be interested, drop it down below, because honestly I feel like now we're doing a lot of vlogs and I don't really have time to sit down and chat to you guys and clear out my head, clear out our heads together. If that is something you'd enjoy, let me know. But for now, you definitely are a star. I'll see you on my next video. I love you. Bye.